what is anarchy?
What is anarchy?
Oh,
what is anarchy? Well,
Well, I suppose.
It could be a way that you live your life. That's how I try and do it.
and try to live by the practices that you preach.
Yes, I don't work for any corporations. I don't work for anybody but myself, my family, my friends, or the community. And that was the first step for me in practicing anarchy. To, you know, even if that means preferring strife to submission, I'd rather not have a house than work for a corporation. And honestly, it brings a lot more happiness. Like, if working's a big part of it, I think, and trying to create the world that you want to live in, and sharing.
Oftentimes, the term anarchy has a very negative connotation with it, but really, what anarchists are groups of people who don't believe in hierarchical order. We believe in community organizing, consensus. And so it's not to say that we don't believe in order, it's that we believe in a consensus-based order. And the fact is that when we're living in a capitalist system, that quickly turns into resistance against the state. And so we've become somewhat of a political enigma, as it were. And essentially, people have been labeling themselves as anarchists since the 1850s. And have been consistent throughout resistance in, like, the labor struggle, women's suffrage, the anti-war movement, just about any movement any progressive movement you can think of. We've been some of the main ground organizers as well as some of the main resistors. And so, that's essentially how I became an anarchist. I was looking at the most effective political activists out there, and historically speaking, that has been the anarchist.
And I meet a lot of people that I think are anarchists, and they just don't know it. You know, they hate the government, they don't like the way things are going, they try and live their lives as freely as possible despite government oppression. And really they're right there. They just don't have maybe the words for it, but they're pretty much anarchists. And so a lot of people, it's not just chaos running through the streets, burning things. That's not the basis of it. That's not the basis of anarchy.
The idea is mutual cooperation and community organizing based on consensus.
Yeah.
So, when you really get right down to it, it's like, in that definition, we're probably some of the least threatening people you'll ever meet.
Hi. Just a few statements about the old business here. So we've got 20 representatives from 20 nations carving things up like a roast beef, that's nothing new. I'm sure you've seen the stickers. But what it means to me, in the end, is that I can't take a walk downtown because there are, pretend soldiers doing their pretend soldiering, trying to attack, kids protesting the nonsense that's going on. So that's quite a bit irritating. I don't know, a picture of them I saw in the paper the other day. All the police decked out in their camo gear. They're not in a jungle or anything. They're just attacking kids. I guess some of them, these pretend soldiers, these policemen, were really brave. Rather than standing 30 meters off and hoisting tear gas at this crowd, they might go in and get the individual troublemakers and leave the rest of the legitimate protesters alone. But that's not in the nature of what they do. They want to look tough, they want to look, paramilitary, and I don't know, I'm not buying it for one. So I guess that's about it. I missed most of the fun yesterday, but it's really strange to see this, what you might see on the news in a third world country, riot troops with rubber bullets and so forth. Just nonsense,
Hey, Dave, think maybe you can show us the front headlines of that newspaper right there?
Y'all made the news. You should be happy about that. You made the news. Matter of fact, some of the media is saying more about the demonstrators than they're saying about what happened inside the G20. And I just want to say that whatever anybody thinks about those tactics, permit versus no permit, I'm really not concerned with that. the police had no justification whatsoever to use that tear gas, to use that crazy sounding, so-called non-lethal weapons, of which many people have died from at demonstrations. That's nothing but repression. That's repression of people who are rising up, trying to speak truth to power. The violence that the government and repressive institutions bring against my people requires me to act intelligently, logically, and that means that sometimes I got to defend myself. And I want to tell you, I'm almost 60. But those young people, there were some old people out there too. Those young people who were confronting the police in the street yesterday, I think they're great. I think they're the future. There's so much apathy. Everybody's just into themselves. Part of this society is just kind of everybody's almost got a case of narcissism. Me, me, me. Who's gonna fight the system? And when you step forward and you fight back, and don't tell me about a few broken stores. I don't want to hear. I'm not going to cry about that. I'm not for breaking anything, especially if people are inside. That doesn't sound smart. But I don't want to hear about a few glass panes on a window being broken when every day there is violence in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in every black community, in every Latino community, and there's economic violence. Being homeless is violence against the homeless. The cold is violence. Not having food is violence. Being unemployed is violence. It's violent for women when they have to look for shelters, and sometimes there's no shelter for them and they got 2-3 kids. So don't tell me about a few broken stores. That ain't nothing compared to the violence of globalization, of capitalism and imperialism. And what I hope, what would make me most happy, what would be most gratifying to me, in whatever days I got left here on earth, is that some of you young people, and people like me, coming from another place, perhaps another time, perhaps even another planet, who knows, that we talk and that we have a connection. Because I think that together, and when I say myself, I'm talking about people from all over the movement. I think if we get together, you know what? I think we'll be even more dangerous. I think we'll be even more awesome in struggling against this violent profit before people system that must go down if this planet is going to continue to exist. G20 says cut back. We say fight back. 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 Oh, poverty has got to go. Hey, hey. Oh, poverty has got to go. Hey, hey. Oh, poverty has got to go. Hey, what do we want? Health care. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Housing. When do we want it? Now. So we can EAT. Hey, hey, whoa, whoa.